You've been lying to yourself, and that lie has cost you more than any enemy could. The danger is not in the words you whisper to others, but in the illusions you whisper to yourself in the dead of night, the lies that let you sleep while your life is rotting from within. You tell yourself you have time, when every hour is stolen. You tell yourself you are strong, when you break in silence. You tell yourself you are honest, when in truth you are terrified to see what you would become if you stripped away every excuse. This is not a minor fault. This is the hidden executioner that has been tightening the noose around your throat for years without you noticing. And if you keep pretending, if you keep polishing these illusions like sacred jewels, you will die having never met the one person you were meant to become. The lie begins small, so small that you laugh at it. You say, "I will start tomorrow." You say, "I am not ready yet, but soon I will be." You tell yourself that your comfort is temporary, that your indulgences are harmless. But tomorrow never arrives. Soon stretches into years. And when you finally glance into the mirror, you are startled by the hollow eyes staring back at you. The wasted potential, the man or woman who once swore they would conquer the world, now afraid to even conquer their own mornings. This is how lies destroy, not in a single strike, but in countless drops that erode stone until there is nothing left. The deceit you aimed outward turns inward until it poisons your blood. You laugh, you distract, you claim control, but deep down you know the truth. You are losing because you chose the comfort of self-deception over the pain of seeing things as they are. Do you think kings were toppled because their enemies were stronger? No. They fell because they first lied to themselves. They told themselves their people loved them when hatred was already in the streets. They told themselves their armies were loyal while daggers were being sharpened in the dark. They told themselves that tomorrow there would be time to reform, time to strike, time to act, and tomorrow devoured them. Look at your own life. How many betrayals, how many humiliations, how many missed chances came not from others, but from you believing your own lie that everything is fine. You became your own assassin, smiling while you carved the wound deeper. That is the cruelty of self-deception. It turns you into both victim and executioner. I will not let you rest in that illusion. I will rip away the blanket of comfort you've been hiding beneath. Understand this. The man who lies to others can still recover, but the man who lies to himself is finished. Why? Because when you lie to yourself, you cut out your own eyes. You blind yourself to the truth that could save you. You silence the voice that could warn you. You willingly step into the trap and then claim it is freedom. Tell me, how many times have you sworn, "I'm okay," while your nights are filled with thoughts you cannot bear to speak aloud? How many times have you declared, "I don't care," while your chest ached because you did care, more than you could admit? Each of those denials was a stone laid in your coffin, and the coffin is nearly sealed. But there is a reason you are hearing this now. There is a reason your blood stirs as I speak. You feel something pressing inside, a quiet terror, a recognition you cannot dismiss. That is the first crack in the wall of lies you built. Do not run from it. Do not cover it again with cheap laughter or empty distractions. Let it widen. Let the truth seep through, because once you allow yourself to see the full extent of the damage, then and only then can you begin to rise. You cannot fight shadows if you refuse to light the candle, and you cannot ascend to power, to mastery, to freedom, if you insist on choking yourself with illusions. You must look, even if it burns your eyes. Understand, I am not here to comfort you. I am here to arm you with sight. The pain you feel when you hear these words is not cruelty. It is the wound being cleaned. It is the poison being forced out. And though it burns, though it feels unbearable, you know it is the beginning of something greater. Every empire was born not in bliss but in fire. Every transformation required that someone finally stopped pretending. This is your moment. You can continue rotting politely in silence, or you can step forward and confront what most men spend their entire lives running from, the truth of their own weakness. Only then can you wield it as strength. Only then can you crush the habit of self-betrayal and become someone unrecognizable to your former self. Do not think the revelations are over. What you have heard is only the first cut, the first strike against the fortress of lies you built around your mind. There are deeper layers, darker truths you have not yet dared to consider. If you stay, you will see them. If you turn away, you will crawl back to your illusions and pretend this never touched you. But you will know, you will feel the rot every time you breathe. The choice is yours now. Remain blind or open your eyes to what comes next. And I promise you, what comes next will not leave you the same. You tell yourself the lie because the truth feels unbearable. You say, I am not afraid, when fear coils around your spine. You say, I can handle this alone, when you are collapsing under the weight of battles you never dared to name. You say, I am fine, when every night your thoughts gnaw at you like wolves tearing at a carcass. These are not harmless phrases, they are chains, forged link by link, until you can no longer move. And here lies the tragedy. Once the chains are on, you forget you ever had the freedom to walk unbound. You begin to call your prison home. You begin to love the very walls that hold you back. That is how self-deception works. It seduces you into guarding your own cage. Think of the moments you claim to be in control. You raise your chin, you put on the mask, you smile for the world. Yet when the door closes and the mirror faces you, there is a flicker you cannot escape. That sudden silence where your mask cracks, where the hollowness in your chest echoes louder than any applause. That is the price of lying to yourself. The applause becomes empty, the victories meaningless, the life you parade before others a costume stitched from delusion. And still you cling to it, terrified of what will happen if even one stitch unravels. So you reinforce the mask, you polish the lie, you double down on the very thing killing you. You become a craftsman of your own demise. Do you know why men lose empires? Why lovers lose trust? Why families collapse into ruin? It is not because of one betrayal from outside. It is because of years of refusing to acknowledge the fractures inside. The king ignores the whispers because he tells himself they are harmless. The husband overlooks the distance because he insists it is temporary. The woman denies her own dreams because she swears she will return to them one day. And then suddenly, it is too late. What they refuse to face becomes their executioner. What they denied becomes their grave. Do not think you are different. Every time you whisper to yourself, I'll deal with it tomorrow, you are writing your own epitaph. And here is the cruelty. The longer you lie, the more terrifying the truth becomes. It grows in the shadows, gaining strength, until facing it feels like facing a monster. But understand this, the monster is nothing but your reflection magnified. It is not invincible. It only appears so because you gave it years of silence, years of denial, years of power it did not deserve. Tear off the veil, and you will see it for what it is, weakness dressed as strength, fear wearing the mask of inevitability. And once you see it, once you dare to call it by its true name, it crumbles. But until then, it rules you absolutely. Do not mistake me. I am not offering you comfort. I am offering you a weapon. These words are meant to cut through the illusions you worship. They are meant to leave scars, because only scars remind you that you survived truth, instead of rotting in lies. This is the beginning of your war, not with the world, not with others, but with the part of yourself that would rather die a coward than live as a sovereign. If you cannot conquer this, you cannot conquer anything. If you cannot stop lying to yourself, then every promise you make to rise, to rule, to change, will be nothing but smoke. And yet, I see in you the faintest hunger, a desire not to remain broken. A part of you is weary of hiding. That hunger is your salvation. Feed it. Do not bury it again beneath excuses, for in the parts ahead, you will see truths that most men run from their entire lives. You will be forced to confront signs you have ignored, signals that reveal not only your weakness, but the path to mastery. But not yet. For now, sit with this wound. Let the sting remind you you are still alive, and if you dare to continue, you will discover what lies beneath the surface of your own deception. You have hidden behind excuses for so long that they feel like truths carved in stone. You whisper, I can't because the timing isn't right. Or, I would, but they wouldn't understand. Or the most poisonous of all, this is just who I am. Lies. Every one of them. And yet you cling to them because they shield you from the sharp edge of responsibility. If you admit the truth that the timing will never be perfect, that others' approval is irrelevant, that who you are is not fixed but forged, then you must also admit that your life is in your hands and that every wasted day is your own crime. To confess this is unbearable to most, so they bury it beneath excuses. They would rather live as victims of circumstance than as guilty architects of their own downfall. But excuses, like rot, spread. One excuse infects another until your entire character is compromised. You excuse your laziness, so you excuse your mediocrity. You excuse your silence, so you excuse your lack of respect. You excuse your cowardice, so you excuse your irrelevance. Soon you are nothing but a monument to excuses, a mausoleum built to house the potential you murdered. And then you tell yourself, it's too late to change, as if that final lie will absolve you. But know this, the moment you say it's too late, you are declaring yourself already dead while your body still walks. There is no greater betrayal than that. Think of the man who says, I will act when the opportunity is right. What he truly means is, I will never act, because opportunity does not arrive like a gift wrapped in silk. It must be seized, wrestled, often in moments of chaos when others are paralyzed. Think of the woman who says, I would have been great if only things had been different. What she means is, I chose not to bear the weight of greatness. Excuses are cowards' prayers. They sound noble, but they are confessions of surrender. And those who surrender to excuses do not simply fail, they dissolve into shadows that no one remembers. Tell me, is that what you want? To vanish into nothingness, muttering excuses that even you no longer believe? Do not forget, every tyrant who fell, every empire that collapsed, every man who lost his crown of respect began with a single excuse. This betrayal is small, it will not matter. This weakness is temporary, I can fix it later. This indulgence is harmless, I deserve it. They did not collapse because of one enemy outside. They collapsed because they excused the enemy within. And you are no different. Every time you permit yourself to look away from the truth, you are sharpening the blade that will one day strike you. The blood will be yours and the assassin will be your own reflection. And yet, there is something more dangerous than excuses, the comfort they bring. You cradle them like a child, clutch as a blanket. They soothe you, they warm you, they tell you that you are safe when you are not. This is why so few ever break free. They are addicted to the false comfort of excuses, intoxicated by the poison of later. They do not realize that comfort is the noose, and that the more they relax into it, the tighter it pulls. If you can tear this from yourself, if you can strip away every excuse and stand naked before the truth, you will terrify not only others, but yourself. Because you will finally see what you could have been all along. So ask yourself now, in this silence between my words, what excuse do you love most? Which one have you built your life upon? Which phrase do you repeat so often that it has become your identity? That is the lie that will kill you if you let it. But if you expose it, if you crush it without mercy, you will feel a shift no one can take from you. You will see what most men never see, that the world was never against you, that fate was never conspiring, that it was always you and only you deceiving yourself. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You cannot return to the old illusions without feeling the weight of their chains. You will either rise or you will drown in the knowledge of what you've lost. Do not think this is the final revelation. No, this is only another fracture in the wall of lies. Beyond this are darker truths, sharper than any blade, truths that will strip you to the bone. If you dare to continue, you will confront them. But if you walk away now, you will spend the rest of your days haunted by the echo of what you almost faced. The choice is yours. Flee back to the comfort of excuses, or stand and see the next veil torn apart. The most seductive lie you tell yourself is that you still have time. You whisper it every morning as you delay, every night as you retreat into distraction. Tomorrow, you say, next week, when things settle down. But the truth is brutal. Time is not yours. It does not ask your permission. It does not wait for your readiness. It does not bend to your plans. It moves without mercy, devouring every hesitation, every delay, every excuse. And by the time you realize it, years have already slipped through your fingers. You stand in the same place, holding the same dreams, watching others pass you by, and you call it bad luck. But it is not bad luck. It is the price of the lie you told yourself that you could afford to wait. Waiting is not neutral. Waiting is decay. While you pause, the ground beneath you shifts. While you delay, your strength withers. While you hesitate, the chances you thought were eternal vanish into the hands of those who dared to act. And still, you comfort yourself by saying, I will begin when the conditions are right. Do you not see? The conditions will never be right. Life was never meant to be controlled, only conquered. The man who waits for the perfect moment dies waiting. The man who moves when things are imperfect bends the chaos to his will. Which are you? The one who lets time strip him bare, or the one who seizes time by the throat before it escapes? Think of the countless promises you made to yourself. I will change, I will improve, I will not waste another day. And yet, how many of those promises were broken before the sun even set? You told yourself it was harmless, that one more day of indulgence would not matter. But each broken promise is a wound, and those wounds do not vanish. They accumulate, they weaken you, they hollow you, until one day you no longer trust your own word. And when a man cannot trust his own word, he is finished. His enemies no longer need to deceive him, he has already deceived himself into submission. History is filled with men who believed they had time. The ruler who thought he could reform tomorrow, only to be overthrown today. The general who thought the enemy would wait, only to wake to the sound of siege drums. The merchant who thought fortune would always favor him, only to find himself ruined by delays he called caution. All of them shared the same fate. Their power was stolen not by others, but by time itself. And you repeat their mistake every time you push your life one more day into the mist of later. You hand your destiny over to decay, as if tomorrow owes you its loyalty. But hear me now. Tomorrow owes you nothing. Every day you postpone, every chance you waste, every truth you smother under the lie of later is a blade pressed against your throat. And the blade grows sharper with each passing hour. Do not mistake this for exaggeration. Look at your own past. How many dreams have already withered because you told yourself you had time? How many doors have closed because you were too afraid to step through when they stood open? Count them if you dare. You will see that time was never your ally. It was the executioner you welcomed into your home. And yet, in this pain, there is power. Because once you admit that time is not yours, you stop wasting it as if it were endless. You begin to act with the urgency of a dying man, and in that urgency lies your rebirth. Every second becomes a weapon. Every day becomes a battlefield. You no longer whisper, tomorrow, because you know there may be no tomorrow. You strike now, you move now, you live as if this hour is your only chance because it is. That is how the great ones lived. That is how you must live, if you intend to rise beyond the mediocrity that drowns most men. Do not think this is the deepest cut. No, there are lies far more insidious than the illusion of time. Lies so deeply buried that you do not even know you speak them. Lies that have shaped not only your habits but your very identity. To face them will demand more than courage. It will demand the destruction of the self you thought was real. But if you stay, if you keep listening, you will see those lies stripped away piece by piece until nothing false remains. And what stands in their place will either terrify you or liberate you beyond anything you imagined. The greatest deception is not in what you do, but in who you believe you are. You whisper to yourself, "This is just me," as if your identity were carved into stone, unchangeable, eternal. You tell yourself, "I am shy, I am weak, I am unlucky, I am broken," and with each phrase you hammer another nail into the coffin of possibility. But understand this, identity is not truth, it is habit. It is the accumulation of choices, excuses, and lies you have repeated until they hardened into chains. The tragedy is not that you are trapped, it is that you built the cage with your own hands and then called it your nature. Consider the man who says, "I am not disciplined." What he means is, "I have excused my laziness for so long it has become who I am." Consider the woman who says, "I am unworthy of love." What she means is, "I have rehearsed rejection so often I now see myself through the eyes of those who never valued me." Identity is not a fact, it is a performance. And the longer you perform the lie, the more convincing it becomes, until one day you no longer know the difference between mask and face, between illusion and reality. You are not born weak, unlucky, or broken. You are born with potential. It is the lies you tell yourself that bury it alive. But there is a darker truth. Once you accept a false identity, you begin to defend it as if it were sacred. You protect the very thing destroying you. You fight for your limitations. You argue for your weaknesses. You cling to the story that makes you small because without it, you would have to face the terror of freedom. Freedom demands responsibility, and responsibility demands truth. So you prefer the comfort of falsehood, even as it strangles you. You say, "This is who I am," when what you mean is, "This is the prison I have chosen and I am too afraid to leave." Look at history, and you will see the same pattern. Entire nations collapse not because of foreign enemies, but because they begin to believe lies about who they are. Rome told itself it was invincible, even as corruption hollowed its core. Leaders told themselves they were beloved, even as hatred grew in silence. Families tell themselves they are unbreakable, while secrets rot them from within. And you, yes, you are no different. The empire of your life is collapsing because you defend the lie of who you think you are instead of tearing it down to build who you could become. Ask yourself, who would you be without the story you keep repeating? If you stripped away every excuse, every fear, every convenient label, what would remain? Most cannot answer because the truth terrifies them. They would rather cling to, "I am not ready, I am not enough, I am destined to fail," than confront the raw, unshaped power of who they might become if they abandoned the lie. And yet, that unshaped power is the only thing that can save you. But to reach it, you must slaughter the false identity you have been worshipping. You must commit the most ruthless act a man can commit against himself, the destruction of who he thinks he is. And here lies the promise. If you dare to kill that false identity, if you dare to silence the lies and stand naked in truth, you will become someone unrecognizable. You will no longer need to say, "I am disciplined" or "I am strong." You will simply live it. You will no longer beg the world for recognition, because the very weight of your presence will command it. This is the transformation you have been denying yourself every time you muttered, "This is just me." But know this, it cannot come gently. It will not come with comfort. It will come with fire, with loss, with the brutal tearing away of everything false, and only then will you see who you truly are. Do not think this is the end of your lies. No. The false identity is only one mask among many. There are deeper disguises, more cunning illusions that corrupt not only how you see yourself, but how you see others. If you continue, you will be forced to confront them. But if you turn back now, you will remain enslaved to the story you chose, dying as a character in a play you did not have the courage to rewrite. The decision is yours. Cling to the lie, or burn it down and step into the terrifying freedom of truth. The most dangerous lie is not the excuse you tell, nor the false identity you defend. It is the story you invent about the world itself. You whisper to yourself, "People are good," even as they betray you. You insist, "The world is fair," even as injustice crushes those who deserve better. You say, "If I work hard, everything will fall into place," while watching others, weaker and lazier, seize the rewards you were promised. These are not noble beliefs. They are illusions. They blind you, they soften you, they leave you unprepared for the brutal reality that governs life. And when reality strikes, you crumble, not because the world was too cruel, but because you refused to see it for what it is. Think of the times you trusted someone without question, believing their words simply because you wanted them to be true. How many times did that trust turn to ash in your hands? How many times did loyalty turn to betrayal, affection to abandonment, promises to lies, and yet you told yourself, "This time is different"? No, it was not different. You simply refused to learn. You clung to the illusion because it comforted you, because it was easier than admitting the truth that people reveal their nature, not with words but with patterns, and that to ignore those patterns is to invite ruin. Self-deception blinds you to others, until the knife is already in your back. Do you know why so many men fall? It is not because they are weak, but because they expect the world to play by rules that do not exist. They think justice is natural, when in truth it must be seized. They think loyalty is eternal, when in truth it is bought and bartered like any commodity. They think effort guarantees reward, when in truth the world respects only strategy, perception, and timing. And so they stumble, again and again, into the same trap, believing in a world that does not exist, instead of preparing for the one that does. Tell me, how long will you keep pretending that life is kinder than it is? Look to history. Kingdoms did not fall because their rulers were weak. They fell because their rulers believed lies about the world around them. They thought allies were true friends until the alliance shattered. They thought enemies were cowards until the invasion began. They thought time was infinite until the blade was already at their throat. And you mirror them every day. You believe the world is safe. Every day you comfort yourself with illusions of fairness. Every day you pretend that destiny will hand you what you have not seized. You are not a victim of fate. You are a victim of your refusal to see. And yet, here lies the promise. Once you strip away these illusions, once you stop lying about the nature of the world, you gain an advantage few will ever touch. You begin to see people not as you wish them to be, but as they are. You begin to navigate life not with false hope, but with clear-eyed strategy. Betrayal no longer surprises you. Injustice no longer breaks you. Failure no longer defines you, because you saw it coming, because you prepared while others slept. That clarity is power, sharper than any sword, stronger than any fortress, but only if you dare to tear the veil away. Do not mistake this for the final revelation. There are lies far deeper than the ones you tell about the world. Lies so subtle, so carefully hidden, that you no longer even recognize them as lies. They are the foundations of your desires, the blueprints of your choices, the silent architects of your fate. To uncover them will demand more than courage. It will demand the destruction of illusions you hold dearest. But if you remain, if you keep listening, you will see them exposed, and once exposed, you will never see life the same again. The cruelest lie is the one you whisper about your desires. You tell yourself, "I want success," while your every action proves you crave comfort more. You say, "I want love," while what you truly seek is validation to fill the hollowness you cannot face alone. You insist, "I want freedom," while your habits reveal you want nothing more than to be chained to pleasures that numb your emptiness. This is the most subtle form of self-deception, not in denying what is, but in disguising what you actually want. And when your true desires are hidden, your life becomes a labyrinth without exit. You walk in circles, frustrated and confused, never realizing you are the one who built the maze. Consider the man who claims he wants power, yet spends his nights drowning in distractions. He does not want power, he wants escape. Consider the woman who says she seeks love, yet tolerates disrespect and betrayal. She does not want love, she wants the illusion of being chosen. Consider the dreamer who declares he wants wealth, yet recoils from discipline, risk, and sacrifice. He does not want wealth, he wants the fantasy of wealth without the price. And so their lives rot, not because their goals were impossible, but because their desires were lies. They begged the world for something they themselves had already rejected. This is why most will die unfulfilled. Not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lied about what they truly valued. They claimed to want growth, but they worshipped comfort. They claimed to want truth, but they cherished illusions. They claimed to want greatness, but they bowed to mediocrity. And so their lives became a graveyard of abandoned intentions, each headstone inscribed with the same words, "I wanted, but not enough." Tell me, how many times have you been guilty of the same? How many times have you cried out for change, only to return to the same indulgences that murdered your progress? But here lies the secret. The moment you strip away false desires, the moment you admit the raw truth of what you actually crave, you gain clarity that terrifies ordinary men. If you admit you do not want success, you can stop pretending and accept your mediocrity. If you admit you want freedom more than safety, you can burn your bridges and never look back. If you admit you want power more than peace, you can stop apologizing and seize it without shame. There is no weakness in honest desire. The weakness lies in pretending. The weakness lies in clinging to noble lies that pacify your conscience while your life rots in contradiction. Look at the empires of history. They were not built by men who lied about their desires. They were built by men who admitted them without apology. Caesar did not say he wanted peace. He wanted Rome, and he took it. Alexander did not say he wanted stability. He wanted the edges of the known world, and he marched until his men could go no farther. Their honesty about desire made them dangerous, because nothing in them was divided. Meanwhile, their enemies perished, torn apart by contradictions, claiming to want one thing while secretly pursuing another. Which are you, the divided man who dies in confusion, or the honest one who bends destiny to his will? And here lies your choice. You can continue lying about what you want, and watch your life become the slow decay of contradictions. Or you can look yourself in the eye and admit the truth, no matter how brutal, no matter how shameful. Do you crave power? Say it. Do you crave control? Claim it. Do you crave freedom at any cost? Pursue it. Because only when you admit it can you build a life that matches it. Only when you expose your desire to the light does it stop enslaving you. That is the promise waiting for you if you dare. But do not be deceived. The deeper lies still remain. Lies more corrosive, more hidden. Lies that infect not only what you want, but why you want it. If you continue, you will face them. If you retreat, you will remain forever trapped in the prison of false desire. The lie that corrodes deepest is not about what you want, but about why you want it. You tell yourself, "I want wealth to provide for my family," when in truth you crave the status that wealth parades before others. You say, "I want power to make the world better," when in truth you hunger for the thrill of domination, the quiet satisfaction of watching others bow. You insist, "I want love because I value connection," when in truth you seek it because you fear being alone with yourself. This is the root rot of self-deception, the noble mask you place over your motives. You convince yourself you are virtuous, when in reality you are ruled by vanity, fear, pride, and hunger. And as long as you lie about your motives, you will never master them. They will master you. Think of the philanthropist who claims his generosity is pure. Why then does he carve his name into buildings, ensuring the world never forgets his charity? Think of the leader who says he serves the people. Why then does he cling to power long after his people suffer beneath him? Think of the lover who swears their devotion is eternal. Why then does their affection fade the moment admiration is withdrawn? The world is filled with these masquerades, men and women draped in excuses and lofty language. But beneath the velvet lies the same primal truth. Every action is driven by desire, and every desire has a motive. Lie about the motive, and you corrupt the action itself. This is why so many live in quiet torment. They pretend to be selfless when they are selfish. They pretend to be loyal when they are afraid. They pretend to be disciplined when they are only terrified of failure. And then they wonder why their lives feel hollow, why their victories taste bitter, why nothing ever satisfies. It is because they never sought the truth of their motives. They built castles of illusion and sat upon thrones of sand. The storm was inevitable, and when it came, it washed everything away. That storm is coming for you too, if you refuse to ask yourself the question most cannot bear: why do I really want what I claim to want? Here lies the cruel paradox. To uncover your true motives is to face shame. You may discover that your noble dreams are driven by pettiness, that your longing for success is rooted in revenge, that your pursuit of greatness is stained with insecurity. But do not shrink from this revelation. Do not turn away, for only when you see the shadow behind your motives can you finally take control. The man who admits he seeks power out of pride can channel it into empire. The woman who admits she seeks wealth out of fear can turn that fear into relentless drive. But the man who cloaks himself in noble lies will always sabotage himself, forever divided between what he claims and what he is. History proves this again and again. Kingdoms collapsed when rulers disguised greed as duty. Alliances shattered when ambition was cloaked in friendship. Revolutions devoured themselves when lust for power was painted as virtue. It was not the raw motives that destroyed them. It was the lies about those motives. Because lies breed blindness, and blindness leads to ruin. You cannot conquer an enemy you refuse to name, and your deepest enemy is not out there. It is the hidden motive you refuse to uncover. But here lies your chance. If you dare to strip away the masks, if you dare to stare at your motives without denial, you will gain a clarity most men never touch. You will know why you move, why you hunger, why you burn, and in that knowing lies control. You can choose to redirect, to refine, to weaponize your motives instead of being ruled by them. Few will ever reach this point because it demands the death of illusion, the burial of every noble lie. But those who do become unshakable, for nothing inside them remains hidden, nothing inside them remains divided. They move with terrifying precision because their motives are clear, naked, and under command. Do not think this is the final unveiling. There are lies deeper still, lies so insidious they are woven into the very fabric of your daily life. Lies that dictate not only what you do or why you do it, but how you see reality itself. If you dare to continue, you will face them. But if you turn away now, you will spend the rest of your life not as master, but as slave to motives you never had the courage to admit. The deepest prison is not built of walls, but of perception. You lie to yourself not only about who you are, what you want, or why you want it. You lie about reality itself. You see only what flatters you, what soothes you, what keeps you from collapse. You filter the world until it reflects your illusions back at you, and you call it truth. This is the most dangerous deception, because once perception is corrupted, everything you build upon it is doomed. You will swear enemies are friends until their knives pierce you. You will believe weakness is strength until the moment you shatter. You will insist that failure is progress while you sink deeper into ruin. You will live in a dream and call it life, while reality sharpens its teeth around you. Consider how you edit your own vision of the world. You downplay your mistakes and magnify your victories. You highlight your intentions and ignore your betrayals. You tell yourself, "I'm doing my best," even as you squander hours in distraction. You tell yourself, "I've come so far," even though you have barely moved. You construct a mirror, designed to flatter, and you stare into it so long you forget that the reflection is false. And then one day, the true mirror appears, in failure, in loss, in humiliation, and you cannot bear the face it reveals. Most men crumble at this moment because they have lived so long in illusion that reality blinds them like sunlight on the eyes of a prisoner dragged from a dark cell. History is littered with examples of rulers who died because they saw what they wanted to see, not what was. They thought loyalty unshakable while conspiracies brewed at their table. They thought wealth inexhaustible while their coffers bled dry. They thought their enemies cowardly while armies marched on their borders. They mistook their illusions for reality, and reality devoured them whole. And you are guilty of the same sin every time you ignore the truth staring you in the face. Every time you say, "It's not that bad." Every time you convince yourself, "I'll fix it later." Every time you choose the comfort of blindness over the terror of sight. The world does not bend to your illusions. It bends only to those who see it without distortion. This is why most men are powerless. They are fighting enemies that do not exist, while serving the ones they cannot admit. They mistake comfort for progress, distraction for rest, pleasure for happiness. And so they waste their lives chasing shadows, never realizing that they are starving in the midst of a feast, dying in the middle of abundance. They are trapped not by reality, but by their perception of it. And so long as perception is corrupt, nothing else can be built. The foundation is sand, and the collapse is certain. But here lies the promise. If you dare to strip perception of its lies, you will gain a weapon few can wield. You will see people as they are, not as they pretend to be. You will see opportunities where others see chaos. You will see danger before it strikes, betrayal before it blooms, collapse before it arrives. You will move through life with a clarity that terrifies those still drunk on illusions. They will call you cold, ruthless, heartless. Let them. Better to be called heartless than to be destroyed by blindness. Better to live in brutal truth than to die in sweet illusion. And yet, there is one final deception. The most hidden, the most vicious, the one even the wisest often fail to uncover. It is the lie not about who you are, what you want, why you want it, or even how you see reality. It is deeper. It is the lie that has guided every thought, every choice, every perception from the moment you began. The lie so fundamental that you no longer recognize it as a lie at all. If you dare to continue, you will face it. If you do not, you will remain forever chained, even if you master everything else. What comes next is not just truth. It is annihilation of illusion at its root. The final lie is the one you guard most fiercely. The one you have never questioned, because questioning it would shatter everything you believe about yourself. It is the lie that you are in control. You tell yourself, "I choose my life." You insist, "I am the author of my story." You cling to the fantasy that every step you take is deliberate, every decision your own. But beneath the surface, in the shadows of your mind, forces you do not acknowledge pull the strings. Habit controls you. Fear guides you. Desire enslaves you. Conditioning whispers in your ear like a master dictating commands to a servant. You are not the author, you are the puppet, and the cruelest part is that you have convinced yourself the strings are your own hands. Look at your days with ruthless clarity. How many of your choices are truly choices? You say you decided to stay up late, but it was compulsion. You say you chose to check your phone, but it was addiction. You say you opted to delay, but it was fear disguised as reason. Your entire life is a chain of reflexes you have dressed up as decisions. And when those reflexes lead you to ruin, you tell yourself it was bad luck. No, it was slavery. And the slave master was inside you all along. History shows us the same pattern. Rulers believed they commanded destiny, while in truth they were ruled by greed, lust, paranoia. Their empires fell not because enemies outwitted them, but because they themselves were prisoners of impulses they refused to see. And you are no different. You believe you are free, but you obey the same silent orders every day. Eat this, avoid that, delay now, escape here. You bow to commands you never gave, and then boast of your choices as if you were sovereign. That is the lie that destroys you at the root. But here lies the cruel brilliance of this final lie. As long as you believe you are free, you will never rebel. A man who knows he is a prisoner will fight the chains. A man who believes he is free while wearing chains will die still bound, never realizing he could have broken them. That is the fate of most men. They live and die as prisoners who believed themselves kings. They never question the invisible strings. They never ask who truly holds the crown. They never confront the fact that their lives were ruled not by will, but by weakness. And yet, here lies your chance. If you dare to see the truth that you are not in control, you can begin the only rebellion that matters. You can turn your gaze inward, expose the impulses that rule you, strip them of their masks, and take command. This is not easy. It will feel like tearing out pieces of your own flesh. It will demand you kill parts of yourself you thought were essential. But once the strings are cut, once you no longer mistake reflex for choice, you will stand as something rare, a man who is truly free. Few will ever reach this point, because it requires the death of illusion at its deepest root. But those who do become untouchable, unstoppable, unshakable. So now you must decide. You can turn away, comfort yourself with the same lies that have guided you this far, and live the rest of your life chained to illusions you will never again admit aloud. Or you can rise, tear away every mask, burn every excuse, expose every hidden motive, and claim the freedom no one can give you but yourself. The choice is yours. And if you dare, if you have the courage to face the final truth, then you will become what most only dream of but never achieve, a man who no longer lies to himself, and therefore cannot be destroyed by anything outside him. If you've made it this far, it's because a part of you already knows this truth. The greatest enemy was never outside. It was the lie you whispered to yourself. Every illusion, every excuse, every false mask has been the chain around your neck. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to strip every lie, to burn every excuse, to kill the false self you've been protecting? Are you willing to pay the price of truth, even if it costs you the identity you've clung to your entire life? If this message touched you, if it made sense, write in the comments, no more lies. Let's see how many here are truly ready to face themselves without mercy. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It's important, much more than you imagine. See you there.